Venezuelan opposition coalition able to register provisional candidate after electoral outcry. Lebanese Sunni militant group head says coordination with Shiite Hezbollah is vital to fight Israel. Why is Japan changing its ban on exporting lethal weapons? And why is it so controversial? Venezuela's main opposition coalition says that the country's government allowed them to register a provisional candidate for the upcoming presidential elections. It comes amid a wave of criticisms when opposition leaders said they were blocked from registering their candidate of choice the night before. The Unitary Democratic Platform coalition said they temporarily enlisted former diplomat Edmundo González Urrutia as their candidate as a way to preserve the exercise of the political rights that correspond to our political organization until they are able to register another candidate. It is the latest in a chaotic process surrounding Venezuela's July 28th election. The head of a Lebanese Sunni political and militant group that has joined the Shiite militant group Hezbollah in its fight against Israel on Lebanon's border, says the conflict has helped strengthen cooperation between the two groups. The leader of the Islamic Group, Sheikh Mohammed Takkoush, said Tuesday his faction decided to join the fighting along the Lebanon-Israel border because of Israel's crushing offensive on the Gaza Strip and its strikes against Lebanese towns and villages, killing civilians, including journalists, since the Israel-Hamas war started on October 7th. He added that the Islamic group does not look for political gains by joining the fight against Israeli forces. Japan's cabinet. Okay to plan to sell future next-generation fighter jets to other countries on Tuesday, its latest step away from the pacifist principles the country adopted at the end of World War II. The controversial decision to allow international arms sales is expected to help secure Japan's role in a year-old joint fighter development project with Italy and the UK, but it's also part of a move to build up Japan's arms industry and bolster its role in global affairs. For now, Tokyo says that it doesn't plan to export lethal weapons other than the new fighters, which aren't expected to enter service until 2035. Dozens of kids and teenagers from Rio de Janeiro's Mare neighborhood gathered for the launch of a book in which they show, with their own words and pictures, how violence in their poor Bayside community weighs on their young lives. The book, titled I Was Supposed to Be at School, features drawings and testimonies collected from youngsters aged between 5 and 17. All too often, when Rio State's military police conduct operations and face off with local drug traffickers, class is canceled, and they take shelter behind washing machines, under their beds, or far from windows that a stray bullet might shatter. Senegal woke up to a new president-elect, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, a former tax inspector and political novice. He was released from prison less than 2 weeks ago and inspired voters, many of them unemployed youth, with a promise to fight corruption and reform the economy. It's a dramatic rise for the 44-year-old, who is due to be the youngest leader of the West African nation. He was catapulted into a presidential campaign when he was backed by popular opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, who was barred from running due to a prior conviction. The election followed months of unrest when both Faye and Sonko were arrested last year, and concerns that the president would seek an unconstitutional third term. The British Museum is suing a former curator alleged to have stolen hundreds of artifacts from its collections and offered them for sale online. Peter Higgs was fired last year after more than 1,800 items were discovered to be missing. Lawyers for the museum say Higgs abused his position of trust to steal ancient gems, gold jewelry, and other items. The museum says it has recovered 356 of the missing items and hopes to get more back. A judge on Tuesday ordered Higgs to list or return any items in his possession within 4 weeks. She also ordered the disclosure of his eBay and PayPal records. Higgs denies the allegations. He did not attend court due to poor health. Gangs have intensified their rampage in the downtown area of Haiti's capital, setting fire to a school and looting pharmacies near the country's largest public hospital. The attacks that began Monday and continued into early Tuesday mark nearly a month since gunmen began targeting key infrastructure across Port-au-Prince, including police stations, the main international airport that remains closed, and Haiti's 2 biggest prisons. UNICEF said Tuesday that the malnutrition crisis is human-made and that the number of children in Haiti estimated to suffer from severe acute malnutrition has increased by 19% this year. Japan's cabinet has approved a plan to sell future next-generation fighter jets that it's developing with Britain and Italy to other countries. Tuesday's announcement was the latest move away from the country's post-war pacifist principles. The contentious decision to allow international arms sales is expected to help secure Japan's role in the joint fighter jet project. It's also part of a move to build up the Japanese arms industry and bolster its role in global security. The cabinet on Tuesday also endorsed a revision to Japan's arms equipment and technology transfer guidelines to allow co-produced lethal weapons to be sold to countries other than the partners. A 420-meter or quarter-mile white steel tube running alongside a railway line in the wind-swept northern Netherlands could usher in a new era in the transportation of people and freight. The tube is the heart of the new European Hyperloop Center that opens Tuesday and will be a proving ground in coming years for developers of the evolving technology. Hyperloop was once trumpeted by Elon Musk. It involves capsules floating on magnetic fields, zipping at speeds of around 700 kilometers per hour or 435 miles per hour through low-pressure tubes. Its advocates tout it as far more efficient than short-haul flights, high-speed rail, and freight trucks. Kenya's government has begun handing over to relatives the bodies of 429 members of a doomsday cult at the center of a legal case that has shocked the country. Exhumed bodies from a vast rural area in coastal Kenya have shown signs of starvation and strangulation. Cult leader Paul Mackenzie is accused of asking his followers to starve themselves to death to meet Jesus, and now faces charges that include murder. Some outraged Kenyans have vast how authorities didn't notice any sign of the mass deaths much earlier. The trial for the pastor and associates begins in April. Thank you for joining us here at the Dunkley Report International News. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the latest breaking stories.